At the beginning of the year, 2024, we came up with a prayer board. I don't know how that turned out for you, but on my end, I see the faithfulness of God. And I want to give you 4 reasons why I do a prayer board. Because it's been very effective. It's been very effective for me. Number one, I do a prayer board because it helps me to stay focused and to avoid also just stay focused and to simplify the vision. And this comes from the book of Habakkuk 2:2. It is the Lord who tells Habakkuk to write the vision down and to make it plain and to make it clear. And so when God puts these ideas and visions in my heart for the next year, I like to simplify it and to be specific, because I also believe in making very specific prayers. If you want a red pen, tell God you want a red pen, not pen, because it can be black, yellow. Like, I believe in being specific when it comes to prayers, and I bring the same through. I adopt the same throughout the year. I'm very specific, and it helps me keep coming up with a prayer board. Help me to be that specific with God. This is what I'm trusting you for. This is when I'm trusting it for, and all those things. So it helps me to stay specific and to make it simple and clear to me and the people that I am accountable to. Point number 2 is that it's an act of faith for me. Like, it is me saying, God, this is what I'm trusting you for. You know, the book of James, the Bible says that faith without works is dead. And so for me, one of the steps towards faith and trusting God for things in the next year is putting them down, because putting them down is a bit risky, and also being and involving other people in the dream as well, because what if it doesn't come to pass? There's that fear. But for me, it's a step of faith and telling God, this is what I am trusting you for, and I know you're going to do it. So it's a step of faith. Number 3 is that it helps me stay focused and to avoid procrastination. Because if there's someone who can procrastinate, over the years, I have learned that I can actually procrastinate a lot, especially when something is hard or I don't like it or I don't want to work towards it. I can easily procrastinate. But having a prayer board and a vision for the year, it helps me to stay focused and to avoid any procrastination. Because every day when I wake up, I remind myself, this is what I am trusting God for, this is what I am working towards, and that helps me to stay focused. And number 4, and that also I can back that up with the book of Proverbs. The Bible says, where there's no vision, people perish. So it's good to have a vision, and not just have a vision. I feel like there's a lot of, it becomes way clearer when you put it down. I don't know whether you've had so many ideas in your mind about something, then the moment you sit down, and when you have those ideas in your mind about something, it's very confusing. But when you sit down and write them down, then the vision becomes clearer. And that's the same idea I use. The moment I have all these desires and dreams for the next year, I sit down and simplify it and put them down, and it makes it way clear, and it makes me, like, it helps me to stay focused throughout the year. And point number 4 is that it reminds me where I am going, and trust God for it reminds me where I'm coming from, and trust God for where I am going. Sometimes it's easy to sit down and think God has not blessed me. It's easy to be sad and to be like, I don't think God has done much for me, especially if your year is ending on a low note. But having a prayer board and having things that you're working towards throughout the year, it helps you to look back and thank God. Like, yes, this and this may not have worked, but at least 1, 2, 3 things worked, and I am grateful to God for that. And so it gives you room to be grateful and to see things that to be grateful for and to thank God for. And it also builds your faith. I was trusting God for these 5 things, and He's done 4 of them. That is something to be grateful for. And so as you walk into the new year, you're like, wow, I am still trusting the God, the same God who did this and this and this last year, and I know He will do it. So it builds your faith, and also it builds the faith of those around you, those that you're accountable to, because they'll be like, oh, she trusted God for this and this and this, and I serve the same God. I am sure He will do it for me as well. So it's not just for me, but also for the people around me. Now, before you pick up your materials or your device and you go into making a prayer board, there are three things I want you to have in your heart as you start this process. Number one, I would discourage you from watching this video and just going and coming up with a prayer board. That may not be helpful. Take time and seek God and understand. Let Him put that vision in your heart. Let Him put that desire in your heart. Like, have a conversation with God through prayer and fasting, and just get to hear what He has for you and what He will put in your heart regarding 2025. Don't just go into it. Don't watch videos on social media and just so and so is trusting God for this, let me trust God for this as well. Personalize it, make it personal for you after having a conversation and intimate moments with God. The second thing that I want you to do is to have accountability partners. It can be your spouse, your friends, whoever, just someone that you can be open to and you can be transparent with, and someone who will keep checking up on you and your progress in all these goals and these visions that God has put in your heart. Someone you can trust, someone you can talk to, and someone who they can be open as well about what they're trusting God for, so that you can pray together and seek God together. It truly helps. And also, at the end of the year, sit down and go through the things that you are trusting God for and worship Him together and give thanks to God together. Number three is, I want you to give room and be flexible and let God's timing take control as well. We can trust God for so many things, but at the end of the day, times and seasons belong to God. And sometimes we can be like, I want this in 2025, but God is like, no, it's not time for that yet. So I want you to be flexible. I want you to create room and be open that some of these things may not happen in 2025, but that does not mean God doesn't want you to have them, or it does not mean that God did not answer your prayer because He just did not answer. Maybe God is like, no, this is not the time for it, or the season for that has not yet come. So just understand that times and seasons belong to God. And also in the book of Proverbs, the Bible says that a man plans, but at the end of the day, God orders their steps. So also keep submitting yourself to God throughout the year, that even as you plan all these things, you're not so focused on achieving 1, 2, 3 things. You're flexible to God's timing, you're flexible to God's season, and you're submitted to His timing and His seasons for the things that you're trusting Him for. So what do you need? If you're like me and you like the physical one, you will go into Pinterest and find images that represent what you're trusting God for. You can include Bible verses to encourage you, quotes to encourage you, just anything that you like. You can be as creative as you can be. Another thing that you need is a board. This is a canvas. For me, I don't know what is falling. I'll be using a canvas, where I'll stick all these images and quotes and everything that I need. Another thing that I am incorporating this year, this was not there last year, is these envelopes. And so I thought this time it's important I incorporate these envelopes, where I'll just be putting prayers that are coming up, and like I need to pray for someone, I write it down and I put it here as well. Or I'm trusting God for something in my career that has come up, I put it here as well. Yeah, so last year, this is what we came up with. Yeah, so make it as creative as you can and put your images, put your anything you like. So for me, it's gonna be the same thing, but now I'm going to incorporate these envelopes as well. So yeah, it's quite simple. It's quite easy. If you cannot get access to this canvas, I remember in 2020, I created one from a box, not a box. What is it called? A cardboard. No, is it a cardboard? I don't know what it's called. But you see, when you cut a box, it has like when you cut a box, like those big boxes, like Amazon big boxes. When you cut one side, then I covered it up with was it a manila paper, and it really looked nice. So be creative. You don't have to get a canvas. Like if you cannot have access to a canvas, just get a carton, cut it out, decorate, cover it up with something. Just be as artistic as you can be. You don't have to go all the way, as long as you just have a physical representation of what you're trusting God for, if you're someone like me. But if you do not want to make the physical one, just go to Pinterest again, download those images and those quotes that you want to use, then go to Canva. And it's free of charge. Go to Canva and just reorganize them and make just like this one, but now on on soft. It's a soft copy of that. And also, if you do not want to go through all this, come up with write those things down. You do not have to go all the way with photos and everything. But for me, I like the image representation. But if you don't mind the writing them down, just journal them down. Write in point form. Write in terms of you can divide it in terms of career, social life, economic, financial. Goals and all those things, divide it. But even when you're coming up with the physical one or the canvas one, make sure that you've looked into all aspects of your life: financial, relationships, your spiritual walk with God, all those things. Make sure you incorporate them. So I would encourage, before you print out pictures or before you go to download Pinterest images, write the goals down. Come up with what you're trusting God for the year, in terms of your career, in terms of your social life, all those things. Write them down, and that will help you again to. So you have two copies. You have the written points form, and you have the image representation. And some may choose to stop at the writing down, the point forms, which is with the point at the point form, which is totally up to you, and it's fine. I hope this has helped you, and I look forward to hear your comments once you have come up with your vision board. And I am going to get into mine right now, and I hope you have been blessed.